feelings are hurt. Dave Ramsey called financial advisors idiots and fools and morons. And I've been a fee-only financial advisor for over 20 years. So does that make me an idiot? I'll let you decide that by the end of the video. But what Dave was talking about was a really important topic. But I think Dave's wrong, and I think Dave's dangerously wrong, because if you follow the advice that Dave is giving, the best academic research available to us tells us that about 40% of the time, you're gonna run out of money in your lifetime. So this is a super important video. I hope you watch it because I think it's really important that you know what the truth is. And I don't speak this directly normally, and I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey. He's a radio show host, if you don't know who he is. Probably one of the most famous radio show hosts that talks about financial advising, does a great job helping people get out of debt. He's written many books, helping people begin saving. In fact, my youngest daughter is a fan of Dave Ramsey's, and I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey. But not only is he wrong on this one, but he's dangerously wrong on this one, and here's why. So Dave, somebody called into his show and asked Dave, the conversation went, and I'll link to the video in the description. So if you want to see the actual video, it's going to be time-stamped. It'll take you right there. You can see Dave loses cool on this video. But the conversation with one of his callers went to, how much money can I take out of my retirement accounts and each year and just adjust that the next year for inflation and the subsequent year and the subsequent year, so your purchasing power stays the same? How much money can I take out and not have to worry about running out of money? It's called a sustainable withdrawal rate. And Dave's knowledgeable on this as well. But Dave's answer to this was, well, the stock markets produce, on average, over long periods of time, like 100 years, the stock markets given investors a 12% return. And inflation's been 4%. This is Dave's argument, not mine. So you can easily take out 8% a year and not have to worry about running out of money. But unfortunately, as I said earlier, the best academic studies that we have and real world results will very easily show that about 40% of the time, people run out of money doing that. So don't let that happen to you. Let me give you a little more context. Dave Ramsey has a team member that has a YouTube channel. His name is George Camel. And George's audience is quite a bit younger. And George was asked that question by somebody that was in their 40s. Hey, if I retire now, how much can I take out? And because you've got a longer amount of time that money has to support you, George was being conservative and said 3%, which I think he's in the ballpark on. And the sustainable withdrawal rate studies would say it's close. You've heard of the rule of 4%. This is where the rule of 4% comes in. So, you know, Dave's not the first one that has made this mistake. There was also in the mid-90s, there was a very famous investor. A lot of Americans would have said probably the two most famous investors in America in the mid-90s were Warren Buffett, but also a gentleman that ran Fidelity's Magellan Fund at the time. His name was Peter Lynch. And Peter Lynch had written an article very much along the same argument as Dave Ramsey. But to Peter Lynch's credit, when journalists pointed out, hey, that's actually not how it works. You can't use averages when you're taking money out like that. Peter Lynch very quickly said, you know what, I was wrong on that. And I admire Peter Lynch for doing that. So why can't you use averages? Well, I like to keep things as simple as I can on my channel. And so my grandfather was a farmer in Ohio. He grew different types of hard to grow vegetables, which allowed him to make a living on a very small farm. But let's say that my grandfather's farm needed 100 inches, which is a lot, I'm just using easy math here, 100 inches of rain a year to produce the crop, right? Well, if one year he got 200 inches of rain and the next year you got 0 inches of rain. Well, it averages out to 100, but there's a big difference between 100 inches a year and getting 0 inches one year and 200. It kind of works that way with your investments as well. It's different. Maybe sometime I'll make a video on it, but it is a little complicated, but that kind of illustrates the point. Another thing that illustrates the point is a lot of us have heard about dollar cost averaging, right? Let's say you've had a $50,000 windfall and you want to invest that in the market. Well, you could do it all at once, or maybe you put in $10,000 a month or $5,000 a month over 10 months. So it's a longer period of time. And what you're hoping is maybe there's some dips in the market's lower and you can buy at lower prices. Well, this is what I call the evil cousin of dollar cost averaging, which is sustainable withdrawal rate. And it turns out when you do that math, the number's 4% instead of 8%. So I think that's a super important point. And again, George Camel was talking about, that's 4% over 30 years. It's important here. That's also a portfolio that's 60% in the stock market and 40% in short-term, high credit quality bonds like U.S. Treasuries. It's important short-term because, as we've all seen, you know, it wasn't that long ago that 10-year Treasuries were yielding nothing, very little. And just recently, as I record this, no longer, but as I record this, like 10 days ago, U.S. Treasuries 10 years were yielding 5% a year from the most risk-free investment, creditor risk-free investment that you can get. Now, I said short-term investments, and the reason for that is like a 10-year Treasury. As interest rates rise, like if interest rates rise by 1 percentage point from where they are today, nobody would want the Treasuries at, like, as I record this, 4.7%, right? They'd want the 5.7, so the value of your Treasury would go down. But if it's only, let's say, a year until your Treasury matures, then you can just get a new Treasury and get the higher interest rate. So, but I want to point out that a 60-40 portfolio is not necessarily a low-risk portfolio. It's a moderate risk. It probably makes sense for a lot of folks. Again, none of what I'm saying here is financial advice. I just want to put this on your plate. But so the 4% rule was developed, I believe it was 1994, Bill Bengen, 60-40 portfolio. You take out 4% a year, and in theory, 90+% of the time, you don't run out of money. And there's different ways that they simulate it. It's beyond the scope of this, but if you like this video, you're gonna enjoy this video up here that talks about average income in retirement. I'll see you in there, and thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.